Hey everyone, welcome to another of Vendel's For Honor History Fashion Showcase videos. Now, this is my third time attempting to record the Shugoki one, actually fourth if you count the one I did initially. Anyways, point being, I've got a lot of topics I want to cover today, so I'm going to be going pretty brief over some things because my last two attempts at making this video all were between like 26 and 30 minutes. 34 minutes, and that's just way too long for this style of video, and I don't want you guys to have to endure all of that, but I do want to go into depth about some of the history that I'm talking about, so bear with me. I'm going to try to keep it short. We'll see if I can get this down to just 20 minutes of talking and displaying my Shugoki. So this video is obviously going to feature the Shugoki, therefore the topics that we're going to talk about, and hopefully do so quickly, are sumo wrestling, sumo's relation to Shinto, the origin of sumo, when it actually started officially as a sport, its positioning in Olympic history, which it isn't yet, but it will hopefully come with time, and a few other things that are just connected to the things that I already discussed, including a small discussion on Oni and other things. We're going to go through the whole outfits first before talking about anything history and all the feats, because I want to get that out of the way quick for people that are just interested in my discussion about that, and then we'll get into talking about the history. So this one's going to be a little more divided in nature, but that's just because I think I'll be able to move through the material quicker if I do that. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is my Shugoki. He features an aesthetic that is kind of serene based in this outfit. His pants are stylized in kind of a ooh, I had a better word for this earlier, but I don't have it on my tongue right now, but they're the kind of emblems of a bird that you would maybe see on the paper walls or paper doors of a temple. This ornate painting style is beautiful in my opinion, and definitely resplendent. I decided I wanted to go with an artful style for this particular Shugoki outfit, which is why I went with the fans on both his back and on his banner. Additionally, the uminami helm, I match up with that uminami helm, the chest pieces decoration, via the pattern, so that it's kind of a reverse of what you see on the helm itself there, as best as possible, and it gives a very clean look, and the curves still kind of match the curves of the fans on the other pieces of his outfit, which kind of completes the look. As far as color scheme, this outfit would look good with any color scheme that has black in it, in my opinion, just because of the nature of the pants and the shoes, the ankle guards. Also, some things to note, the Namazu arms that I have on this piece actually do change color with the color palette that you give it, and it does have a minor amount of gold on it, so some yellows can also look really nice, but just yellows aren't generally my favorite. Additionally, I also did design his kanabo for this one, where I wanted a more simplistic design, so I used not some of the overly resplendent on handle or pommel, but I did want the actual kanabo's club head to be kind of artful, and therefore it kind of features either the Yuka Onna or the idyllic Kabuki female actor man from like ukiyo-e literature. So in case you didn't know, in Kabuki theater all of the actors are always male, and that means all the men are acted by women. I mean, all the women are acted by men. Sorry, reverse of that. And these actually gave rise sometimes to some men thinking some other men were actually incredibly beautiful, because they were really good at looking like hot women with their makeup. There's a particularly funny story by a writer from the 1600s where he talks about a corporate version of Buddhist hell, wherein the devil is running out of space in hell because there's so many people entering hell because of their homosexual relations that are predicated upon them falling in love with kabuki actors that are male. And these men falling in love with the kabuki actors are of course damned to hell for being homosexuals. This was, you know, the time. This isn't something I'm trying to critique an overamount. So the demon decides he needs to send people to stop this from happening so hell isn't flooded, because they're having to purchase new land in hell and paint like oceans and ponds red so they look like pits of boiling blood when they're not actually pits of boiling blood and stuff, and they're having to fake out some of the new residents of hell. This was written in like the 1600s, by the way, so impressive piece of literature. If you want to know more about it, I will mention it in the comments down below. But effectively, as the story continues, the demon sends out a kappa, a spirit servant of his, and he and the demon both effectively fall in love with this particular male kabuki actor, and then they decide that being gay is no longer something that should get you sent to hell, because even the devil himself is gay for this particular kabuki actor. And it's a very, very humorous piece, and I'm giving it too much light, but it's one of the best satires I've ever read from Japanese literature, and it's well worth looking into. And so that's kind of the ideal that went into this outfit. Let's talk about his second outfit. This one has a more irreverent theme. I include one of the headpieces that is more Oni or yokai monstrous look-like. White beard associated with the grayish white hair makes it more resplendent for the type of pattern that I give it with the color schemes. Additionally, I also changed his skin to black just for the contrast, though there is some interesting history about large sumos from other cultures coming over to fight. This is not my favorite jacket that I would wear with this piece. Rather, if I had my choice, I would wear the one that I have not unlocked yet, the Kikunu Seku piece, because it gives I like the pants better with the overall theme of white and black. It looks cleaner, the jacket isn't as tattered, and the ornamentation on the skulls as their material colors change and the things that he has on his back are nicer to me. Additionally, I also chose the shoulder pads that I did because they're large, they actually look defensive, and they feature kind of the classic Kabuki face on the side, as well as I enjoy the tassets here. I feel like they're a good accompanying feature to his beard. And it just kind of creates this hairy, burly look for this monstrous sumo Shugoki here. So that's the two outfits. Let's go ahead and talk about perks for those outfits. In this particular outfit, this is the setup that I like the best. This is Bastion, Last Stand, and Vengeful Barrier. Now, there's a particular reason that the Shugoki benefits so much from Last Stand and Bastion. Now, people don't generally like Last Stand, but I think it's excellent on the Shugoki because it stacks with his feat that also gives him damage resistance. And when he's on his own, he gets this 30% damage resistance that later this week is going to be buffed because Last Stand's effect is going to get doubled up to 50% damage resistance, making him very, very hard to kill. Now with the Shugoki, this is important because there'll be times when people swing at you thinking that they're going to get the kill off with one of their heavies because they see you with only 25 health left, so they'll throw out a like 35 damage attack expecting it to kill you because, well, for anyone else it normally would. But guess what? You go into your Demon's Embrace, they hit you with it, they don't try to dodge because they expect you to be dead before you grab them, but because you've got Last Stand and Bastion on and hard to kill on, you do not die, and you pick them up and you squeeze them, you get your health back, and you finish them off. I have turned around so many fights at critical health because of this setup, and I love it. Vengeful Barrier is absolutely always good, regardless. Feline Agility I don't particularly like on the Shugoki because he shouldn't be trying to move around anyways. Bulk Up, although helpful, is not as important, I think, as Bastion and Last Stand because damage resistance just does more for him overall, and he already has a good amount of hit points. Rising Dawn is great on him because he does have the feat Speed Revive, but he's not super mobile, so it's kind of hard to make best use of with him because you can't always get into position, and he now lacks the passive hyper armor that allowed him to tank one hit while reviving, and so it's not as easy to perform in that way. Remedy is, of course, one of those that's just kind of nice, but he already has a health regen method, and therefore I do not find it super important on the Shugoki in particular. When we talk about his feats, we already mentioned a few of these. Speed Revive is, in my opinion, the best of the level 1 feats. However, if you don't need to be reviving, Throw Farther is handy. Rock Steady is the best of the level 2 feats. There's absolutely no debating that. The other two options are Smoke Bomb and Juggernaut. Smoke Bomb is handy. Juggernaut is kind of mediocre, but Rock Steady is the best. Hard to kill. Already mentioned, this is my personal favorite. You have to run this on him because of the damage reduction, especially if you're covering a zone and activating Bastion. The way this stacks, you can defend so much and survive so much more than you think. You're able to trigger Revenge sooner. This just helps all around. Longbow, though, does have a particular use for him. Shugoki has a lot of trouble chasing people down, and so Longbow allows you to sometimes, when someone flees combat, when they're on low health, snipe them. Just take them out while they're running away. They won't look back because they don't think you can catch them. And longbowing, I've gotten a number of kills just longbowing people that are trying to run away from me. Punch Through, some people say they really love this, but I don't understand it because most of Shugoki's kit is focused on either his grab or his Demon Embrace, both of which wouldn't gain anything from this. Or additionally, his heavies, which he can all make unblockable, and to pressure the opponent, generally speaking, you want to make them unblockable. Although occasionally it's nice to swing out the regular one just to mix things up, I just really don't see use for Punch Through on him, although it does make sense with his design. Regenerate is the best if you're an attacker because it allows you to stay alive without having to run to the healing zone. Aerostorm is best as a defender because you can destroy the ram. but that's only if you're trying to play for the fast game and ram destruction. If not, I would still probably take regenerate. Staggering blow is a little too risky to use. I find I hit my friends more commonly because they're not paying attention to my heavies than I do my actual enemies, and therefore I don't like to use this one in 4v4s because it tends to actually cause more problems than it benefits, in my personal opinion. As far as his executions go, we're just going to feature a few of my favorites. There is Sit On It, one of the most non-violent kills, and this one is absolutely my favorite Shugoki kill just because of its nature. The Mountain, which comes from Game of Thrones, most certainly, and is disturbing, so I'm not going to watch the whole of that one. It's not that bad. But, you know, it does have the whole, let's explode this dude's head with my hands kind of thing. Yeah, it's not my favorite. Doormat is a little bit cool, but at the same time a little bit unrealistic and ridiculous. I get that you could kill a person by stepping on their face as the Shugoki because you are huge and fat, but, you know, I don't think there'd be quite as much bone-crushing noise as there is in this. Just listen. It's intense. Kimarite is fun because it's a little bit connected to sumo. However, I don't really necessarily like the sumo aspect of it too much, because sumos are actually extremely flexible, and our Shugoki never actually shows that off. I don't know who motion captured for him, and I'm not judging you too hard, whoever did, but sumo wrestlers are extremely flexible, and when he is taking the standard sumo entrance prep pose with the legs spread out like this, he should be much lower to the ground than is featured here, and that same problem follows through with the sumo emote. The other one, Kinjite, is fun, but keep in mind that the throw that's done from this can ledge both opponents and friends alike, so be careful with where you're using this one. And then finally, the Shugoki Smash is one of the most iconic displays of brute strength. For his emotes, Sumo is one of my favorites because it does reference his origin. However, like I said, he does not get low enough, though he does circle his legs, which is how a sumo would get into this pose. He doesn't get low enough. He's just not as flexible as he should be. And yes, I know that surprises people, these giant fat men being super flexible, but they actually are. Real sumo wrestlers are incredibly flexible and incredibly capable. Tantrum is a very fun pouting emote, one of the better ones. Hard Times is still one of my absolute favorites from the very beginning of the game, just because of the expression that goes into it as he jiggles a little bit. You can just feel that back scratch. Additionally, his recognition is nice because it's audible, similar to the Berserker's recognition. And if you get a group of Shugokis doing this all at the same time in rhythm, it's very cool. It just is kind of fun. And then Pumped and Heck Yes are both just goofy and show off our kind of boisterous nature as a Shugoki that are kind of fun. And he is a goofball. There's absolutely no denying that. For his signatures, Chu, more goofballless. Let's Kiss Our Club, that probably has blood and guts on it. I like this one though. It is very humorous to me. And actually is probably my favorite. Kanabo Drop is good. It's the classic mic drop style. But to be honest, the Orochi's mic drop is more expressive than this one is. And so it's just not really necessarily my favorite. Hard hitting is just kind of boring. You already see the Shugoki swinging his giant kanabo in the fights. Therefore, Chu, the one you actually start with, is actually my favorite of the signatures. So that about sums it up for these things. As far as the ornamentation goes, I got this from the Demon Fire Mythic outfit. And I really dislike how this augments to both of the outfits that I've got going on here. For the material, I definitely choose black. For color schemes, I do use the Apollyon's War one, and then other ones that you can just get from Reputation for the other themes and outfits that I wear. And that really about sums it up for what I did to make him look special. And to be unique. So let's go ahead and talk about history. We're now getting on to the history segment, and I'm still going to try to keep things decently quick, but we'll just see what we get through here, and hopefully this won't take too long. So first off, when we look at his helmet, for this particular piece, we kind of see it inspired by maybe some of the more expressive paintings of like Raijin or Fujin or other gods, where they have the standard almost Saiyan-like from Dragon Ball Z hair. It would take a lot of gel to make your hair look like this. However, an interesting thing to note, Japanese people's hair is more manipulatable than most European hair. European hair, different cultures, different genetic hair types do grow in different ways, and it's not as easy for certain people to do this as others, but Japanese people actually can manipulate their hair pretty easy because of its kind of light nature, I guess you could say. So although this looks ridiculous, it is actually feasible for a Japanese person to do this. even historically, I would say. Though some of the ones that are featured like this, such as the Kiku no Seka one, are just a little bit too ridiculous for me. That thing just sticks up way too high and way too big. And it kind of looks like Yubaba from Spirited Away. Now that I've said that, you'll never unsee it. I hope that's the case. He also needs some serious teeth work on this mask, man. He's got problems. Anyways, so my favorite looks, though, are definitely the Uminami helm, or just the one that I featured earlier, because it's got the 4 tusks and the whiter hair, the Okuda helm. The other ones that he has are some with just some simpler mustaches or open-mouthed masks, or ones that actually feature hair instead of a cowl that kind of covers the back of his neck. And although I do like the hairstyle, I feel like the hair almost looks a little too matted here, and so these ones aren't exactly my favorite. They almost look like plastic little dangles with how they move. And so for me, I like his masks that actually like form a cleaner look with his hair than anything else, I think. For his chest piece, this is where we actually get to talk a little bit about history. So for a lot of the chest pieces that the Shugoki wears, there is a connection to the sumo outfit that is classically used for sumo combat. Sumo wrestlers, so to describe sumo fighting a little bit here, they will, the whole goal of sumo is to either push your opponent down onto his hands and knees, or to push them out of the circle, the arena, the ring. This is done obviously via a variety of flexibility, acrobatics, pushing, moving, but mostly just brute strength. For sure. That is what sumo wrestlers are renowned for, is the absolute mass of both weight and muscle mass that they have. Sumo wrestlers, therefore, biggest principal thing is keeping their center of gravity extremely low so that they cannot be pushed out of the circle or lifted up or grappled in any sort of way. However, sumo wrestlers also often wear on their diaper a belt similar to this one, a braided belt with these paper dangles hanging down in the front. And these actually have an extremely interesting significance. So we're going to talk a little bit about Shintoism now. In Shintoism, kami are reverential gods. Now, they're nature gods usually, however, they're more associated with just awe or other things that are inspiring. For example, a craftsman could eventually be revered as kami. A great warrior could eventually be revered and live on as kami. However, additionally, a mountain, a river, a particular forest, or even a special boulder with some unique placement could also be revered as kami. Kami are often demarcated from natural space by priests with a wrapping robe or belt like this braid that he wears around his waist. You'll see this braid around a tree or around a stone, and that kind of marks it as such. It marks that that tree has a particular spirit about it. It is an inspiring piece of nature, of natural beauty. Kami, a teacher once described it to me, and I very much agree with this statement. Kami is just anything that creates great awe. A chair is not normally going to be kami because it's man-made. And even if it's a resplendent piece of artwork, it's not going to be kami because it's man-made. But things that are created from nature, people, or trees, or things like that that are born of the natural world can become and often are kami. And there are a myriad of kami. Kami also can become impure if they are, corrupted. If a river becomes polluted or becomes too muddy instead of continuing to flow with the water, that kami is now dangerous to pray to. Kami are a very spiritual representation of the world. In Shintoism, they don't talk so much about heaven or hell, like with the story that I talked about earlier. Rather, Shintoism is based primarily on what's happening in this life. Shinto adherents will do ritualistic things to bless themselves in this life and gain the blessings of the kami and the spirits. And these come in all sorts of very different forms, and oftentimes shrines are dedicated to a specific type of blessing or type of kami. For example, there's a boat shrine in northeastern Kyoto where the Navy will often go on a pilgrimage to and pray at and have a ceremony at before taking a long voyage at sea for safety in their travels. Now, as these prayers are offered, like I said, a kami is often demarcated with a belt like this, but those prayers are often written on a paper slip that is then folded to look like these pieces that are hanging down in front of his belt here. these paper slips are how they send their prayers, and they'll hang them either on special gates made in the shrine, or special boards, or on the branches of kami trees themselves. And these papers will take the spirits of their prayers to the gods, essentially. And when the priests burn them, that's when it enters that place. And it's just interesting in that particular nature because of how connected it is to our modern world. People aren't going to go to a Shinto priest to see something that is going to help them with the afterlife. It is always, help me with my test tomorrow, help me with my interview for work tomorrow, help me do this, bless my family, bless me with safe travels, help me in my efforts towards love, things like that. And given it's a very naturalistic religion in that way, because Shintoism allows people to hone their thoughts in on what they actually really desire, or what they really want as they think about it and contemplate it in these prayers that they give to the gods. Therefore, it allows them to actually better prepare for the very things that they are asking for, and almost gain the blessings of the spirits there in that occurrence. And I think that concentration of mind that goes into Shinto worship is just really beautiful, is very, very interesting in that nature. And I love it, and I love that the Shugoki has some of that nature brewed into his character, and that most of the samurai actually have some connection in their armor to Shinto art form. Whether the makers of the game knew that or understood it fully or not, it's certainly there. And that's something that makes me greatly happy. I think that about sums it up for the things that I wanted to talk about in this video. There are a few other subjects that I wanted to go on, but I just don't think we have time to talk about all of them. I did also want to talk a little bit about sumo wrestling preparation regimen. If you ever visit Japan and you're interested in seeing the sumo, you can see them just wandering around sometimes. I mean, they still have public lives, and that's how I've seen and met a few of them. But additionally, sumo wrestlers, you can normally go and see them in their training hall pretty easily in Tokyo. However, that training hall is sometimes closed to foreigners or even Japanese as they prepare to protect themselves from any sicknesses or flus that are going around, because, like said, the flus can really destroy a sumo's career if he loses a ton of weight, because weight is a principal part of how they run their competition. So that about sums it up for this video. If you want to hear more information about things, if you want to know more about any of the subjects that I talked about today, or if there's anything you feel like I could have touched on that I actually missed while talking about the Shugoki's appearance, let me know. Oh, that brings me to one last thing I didn't mention. Sumo wrestling has been a serious sport since the 1600s. I wanted to talk about how it is recognized by the Olympics, but there's not enough contestants from around the world for it to actually be a true Olympic sport yet. But sumo probably has its origins closer to like 500 Common Era. At the same time, though, it definitely didn't exist in the form that we get today until sometime in the middle of the 16th century, when it started to actually become resolute and then become fermented during the Tokugawa era, as most classical, now Japanese historical things are cemented during the Tokugawa era. Well, with that, I'll go ahead and leave you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the outfits that are here and some of the history that goes into some of the design for these characters that I'm glad got incorporated, whether it was fully understood or not. And I hope you guys continue to enjoy these videos in the future. I think my next video will feature the Nobushi, but I've still got some work to do on collecting some of the pieces for outfits. Otherwise, I'm going to do a lot of flashing between the change look thing as I'm discussing the outfits that I want for her. But we'll just see what happens. Hopefully that video will be out next week. Look forward to my weekly Arcade Quest video that's coming out this Thursday. And with that, you all just have a great week. Vendel out.